Yo, I'm Bob. Into Marvel. Happen to be totally blind since birth. Talking about X-Men, the animated series, Season 3, Episode 15, The Dark Phoenix Saga, Part 2, The Inner Circle. So, The Inner Circle premiered right alongside Part 1, Dazzled, on November 12th in 1994. The Inner Circle is episode 41 of the series overall in terms of chronology and scripting order. This episode is pretty much about the title. It's about the inner circle. These mutant elitists who are having an internal power struggle, they are overstuffed with it. They've had their way for far too long, and now they've kind of bitten off a bit more than they can chew since they've persuaded Dark Phoenix to join them. And the opening scene, you've got Xavier, and he's confused as to how bamboozled he's become. You know, he can't break through this psychic barrier. I would imagine it's probably Emma's psychic barrier. I've seen this thing twice before I filmed the review, so you'd think I'd know. I think it is. Either that or, Dark Phoenix is kind of giving her a bit of a boost there because she's extremely busy experiencing new emotions and sensations. She's kind of having a party as well, I think. So you've got Wolverine. After he was thrown into the sewer at the end of part one, he's kind of playing around there. He's sneaking up on I don't know if they're Hell Knights or just regular mercs. I would imagine they're just regular run-of-the-mill mercenaries that the Inner Circle has hired to do their dirty work. So he's kind of knocking some guys around. I always liked that scene when I was a kid. And then I think he might infiltrate their wine cellar because we hear him say, lousy year. And, he's kind of looking at, I guess, one of the bottles there. And then he wonders at one point, where do these guys do their shopping? He really likes what he sees. He sees a turkey leg or some kind of piece of turkey at one point. Either that or he's calling somebody turkey. And if I were him, I probably would have stopped and had a bite. Because, traipsing around in the sewers and knocking guys out would probably make anyone hungry. I don't know what kind of turkey that was. Oven roasted. If it was that processed stuff that you can just eat from the lunch meat counter, I probably wouldn't have any of that. I'm picky when it comes to turkey. I like it oven roasted. I don't like it deep fried. I don't like it smoked. Just give it to me oven roasted. Turkey rant aside, you've got everyone held hostage and they have to listen to the Inner Circle gloating and kind of having an internal struggle throughout the episode. Sebastian likes his position of power. You have Jason who wants it. And now that he thinks he's controlling the Dark Phoenix, he's trying to make a play for a higher position there. And I like how at one point Emma's kind of fed up with the whole thing because she's like, look, you geniuses need to come to the realization that we can't control the Phoenix forever. She's gonna get wind of what's going on here, and I kind of like how she's the voice of reason in the episode. She's kind of realizing that things aren't necessarily going to end well. So I really like her character, and I hope we're not done with Emma Frost. From what little we saw of her in the animated series, yeah, I hope that she makes another appearance. I think she's actually in Beyond Good and Evil, but no speaking roles. At least I don't think she has any. She's there with the other psychics that Apocalypse captured. But she doesn't really do much. I think we have a lot of cameos in that four-parter. Yeah, she doesn't do that much. So we really don't get her doing anything outside of these two episodes. You've got the scene, the mind duel, as my friends and I used to call it, where Scott goes into Jean's mind and he's trying to figure out why in the world she's helping these mutants, and she's been manipulated by Wingard because that's what he does. He's mastermind. I think he's a master gaslighter, master manipulator, so that's kind of what he's been up to. And this guy gives himself all kinds of mods, I think, in the fight, whereas Cyclops doesn't really have anything. He just has a psychic representation of a sword. But it really doesn't last that long. He's gloating, and then you have Scott, who's, well, he's not unalived, of course, because It's a Fox Kids show, and his link is so strong with Jean. She's not gonna let anything happen to him. She's still fighting those dark emotions, the dark urges inside of her, I think. And she does the same thing when Wolverine shows up. She remembers that time after the fight with Sabretooth there, when he finally makes it to wherever the club's hanging out. And she kind of comes to her senses, albeit briefly, because you've got Jason who's spouting off more. Can I use the word malarkey? Do people use that anymore? Well, that's what he's doing. I like how Dark Phoenix has had enough of all of this. And she's like, you know what, guys? Just amuse yourselves. And she kind of lets the Inner Circle and the X-Men have the throwdown that I was hoping to see. Now, of course, there's no audio description, but I'm sure it was a pretty interesting fight scene there. Mostly in terms of auditory context clues, you've got Sebastian who's bragging yet again about how my powers absorb everything you throw against me and all this stuff. So he's about as mouthy as Wingard. So it was an interesting fight scene. I think Gambit actually fights with Frost for a few seconds, and he says she play rough. So I don't know how well things worked out with him. And then they kind of run. They're going to beat feet, and I want to say Wingard, he stays behind. He makes the biggest mistake of his life by staying behind, and Dark Phoenix has kind of had enough of being used by this guy. And yeah, his arrogance, I think, having his own way for a long time now, it's over for him. She lets him see just how interesting she truly is. I don't really know what her actual, well, it's her Dark Phoenix persona. I'm not sure what that looks like. I remember in the X-Men The Next Dimension video game when you could select her character, I think one of my friends said she kind of looked like a hag, maybe kind of witchy in terms of the Dark Phoenix face. I don't know what she showed him there, but it apparently drove him around the bend, and she kind of, well, causes his illusions to slough off as well. And I think he's older than he makes himself look. I'm not sure how old. What is he, an octogenarian or what? I don't know. There's no audio description, but I liked that scene where she just kind of throws his tricks aside like they're nothing. And I don't really know what happens to him after. We do know that Sebastian's not done because he lets the audience know that they're going to get their revenge, but we don't see the Inner Circle in the rest of the animated series. So hopefully they'll be showing up in X-Men 97. I would be willing to say that it's a safe bet they are. I mean, they're an interesting group, and I really wanted to see a bit more of what they'd been involved in over the years. They seem like a secret society of mutants anyway in the comic books, the Hellfire Club. And I don't know. I liked what I saw in the only 2 episodes in which they did anything. So I hope we're not done with them. Of course, the episode ends with Dark Phoenix ready to blast the X-Men. Apparently, she's had enough of everybody, and she's reveling in her new sensations, her dark emotions, and she's about ready to take everybody out. And Cyclops, he does his thing where he screams Jean for the umpteenth time. It really doesn't get on my nerves, though. I've heard some fans say that he does it too much, but I really like what Norm Spencer brings to the character when he does do that. Because, I mean, he doesn't make it sound corny, I don't think. At least it doesn't sound that way to me. And he was just always so great at doing the voice of Cyclops. And I really liked his performance in this episode, especially during the duel. I think he brought a lot to that in terms of vocal performance there, but he always did in terms of providing the voice for Cyclops. I think my favorite part of the episode was Dark Phoenix finally giving it back to Wingard. You know, she just takes him down with no effort at all. And this guy, I really like his performance too. Scared to death, and he's just done after this. I don't know what happens to the character, if we'll see him again in '97, but she terrifies him. And it was such a cool scene because this guy had been mouthing off for the entire episode, talking about how great he was, and he finally gets his at the end of the episode, and all he can do is kind of groan as she finishes with him there. As I guess he probably has been knocked prone to the ground. So I think that was my favorite part of the episode. And now that she's done playing around and kind of learning from this group of hoity-toity elite mutants, now she's ready to unleash some of her own mayhem. So be here next time as we talk about Dark Phoenix Part 3, The Dark Phoenix. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's one of my favorites in the entire series. This, I think, is such a well done miniseries, and I like that they gave the Inner Circle quite a lot to do in the first two episodes. So hopefully we're not done with them. Till next time, guys.